What happens when a beloved comedian walks onto a talk show expecting laughs, but instead finds herself in the most uncomfortable exchange of her entire career? The tension between Leanne Morgan and the hosts of Today with Hoda and Jenna didn't just build. It thickened, tightened, and wrapped around the room like barbed wire. What began as lighthearted banter spiraled into an exchange nobody in that studio was prepared for. Before we get into the moment everything went off the rails, go ahead and hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Because trust me, this one has layers you won't believe. So Leanne Morgan strolls onto the set with that signature Southern charm everyone adores. She's there to promote her new comedy special, and the vibe at first feels easy, bubbly. The usual morning, show warmth. Jenna Bush-Hager and the co-hosts are all smiles as Leanne settles into her seat. The audience applauds. Everything looks perfectly normal, but if you watch closely, something feels off. Just a hair. Just enough that you notice it. Then Jenna opens with what sounds like a harmless question. Len, your comedy is so relatable, especially to women in Middle America. Do you ever feel pressure to stay in that lane? Or do you want to branch out into edgier material? On paper, standard interview question, but the way she hits the phrase stay in that lane carries a tone. Subtle, but unmistakable. And Leanne hears it. You can see it in her eyes. She laughs, but not her real laugh. And she replies, well, I talk about what I know. My life, my family, Tennessee, all of it. I don't think that's a lane. I think that's being authentic. And I'm not sure what you mean by edgier. Are you saying my material isn't good enough as it is? Boom. The temperature drops instantly. Jenna tries to recover. No, that's not what I meant. I just meant comedy is evolving and people want different perspectives. I was curious if you ever feel limited by expectations. Leanne's smile tightens. Limited. Jenna, I sell out theaters across the country. My audience doesn't limit me. They support me. And I'm not sure why you're implying that what I do is less than comics who curse more. Funny is funny, and my people think I'm pretty funny. The co-hosts jump in, scrambling to smooth things over, but Leanne isn't letting go. She leans in and says, you know what? Every time I come on shows like this, there's this little hint of condescension. Like Southern comedy or clean comedy is somehow cute or outdated, but making people laugh without being vulgar. That takes skill. That takes creativity. Silence. No giggles. No awkward audience. Ooh. Just pins dropping. Jenna insists she wasn't attacking her, but Leanne presses harder, calling out the implication that she needs to evolve, to be taken seriously. Another host tries to diffuse the moment with a generic, comedy is subjective, but Leanne fires back again, pointing out that instead of celebrating her voice, they're trying to push her into a box she never asked to be in. Finally, Jenna offers an apology and tries to reset the interview, but Leanne isn't done. She folds her arms, looks Jenna straight in the eye and says, let me ask you something. When other comedians sit here, do you ask them whether they feel limited by their style? And that is where everything truly shifts. Do you ask the political comics if they ever want to just tell silly jokes? Leanne presses. Or is this question reserved specifically for people like me? Jenna's discomfort is written all over her face. She clears her throat and says, I ask different questions based on the guest and their work. I don't have a script where I ask everyone the same things. Leanne nods slowly, but she's not satisfied. Right. So you chose to ask me about feeling limited. I'm just trying to understand why that was the direction you wanted to go today. Co-host jumps in, trying to de-escalate. Leanne, we're all fans of your work. We're curious about your process. Sometimes questions don't land the way we intend. That's okay. We're all human. Leanne softens by a hair. I appreciate that, I do. But here's what bothers me. There's this assumption in the entertainment world that certain types of comedy are more legitimate than others. I've spent my whole career pushing back on that. I've been told I need to be edgier, meaner, more political. But my audience doesn't want that. They want honesty. They want warmth. They want to laugh at real life without feeling like they're being lectured or slapped in the face.
Jenna nods.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, Leanne. Your audience clearly loves you. Leanne immediately cuts in. See, there it is. Your audience. Like there's some separate, lesser category. My audience is teachers, nurses, grandparents, parents. People who work hard and just want to enjoy a night out. They're not unsophisticated. They just have different tastes. The energy in the studio has fully shifted now. What should have been a bubbly morning chat has morphed into a philosophical debate about comedy itself. Another co-host tries again to land the plane. Len, you've built an incredible following by staying true to yourself in a business that pressures everyone to change. That's admirable. This time, Leanne exhales, softening a little more. Thank you. That is what I try to do. But when I come on shows like this and get questions implying I should be something else, it undermines everything I've built. It sends a message to my audience that what they love isn't good enough. Jenna, still trying to recover control, offers a peace bridge. Lon, I promise that was never the message. I respect what you do. Truly. Maybe we can shift gears and talk about your new special. There's a story about your mother-in-law that people are already talking about. Leanne hesitates, weighing whether to let it go. Finally, she sighs. Fine. We can talk about it. I just needed to address what happened. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just tired of swallowing it when people make these subtle digs. Jenna nods, eager to move forward. I understand. And again, I'm sorry if I offended you. Leanne turns to the audience. So in my special, I talk about how my mother-in-law saves everything. Margarine tubs from the 80s. Ziplocs washed and hung like laundry. A drawer full of twist ties she treats like family heirlooms. The audience laughs, relieved to breathe again. A co-host jumps in, oh my gosh, my grandmother is the same way. For a moment, it feels like the interview is finally back on track, until Jenna tries just a little too hard. She smiles and says, I just love how you find humor in these simple, everyday moments. It's very wholesome. Leanne freezes. The smile drops from her eyes. Wholesome. She repeats it slowly. Funny, I don't recall ever hearing a male comedian called wholesome. Men get called sharp, brilliant, genius. Women talk about family, and suddenly it's wholesome. Jenna looks rattled. I meant it as a compliment? I know. Leanne replies, but even your compliments feel minimizing. Wholesome sounds like I'm being patted on the head. My comedy is smart, crafted, intentional. I work every word. I'm not just rambling about casseroles on stage. The co-hosts glance at each other lost. One tries again, Len. None of us are saying your comedy isn't smart. Then why? Leanne cuts in. Here the words you choose always words that make it sound less than. Why not call it brilliant? Why not call it bold? Why does it have to be relatable, or cute, or wholesome? Jenna finally breaks, frazzled and exhausted. Lynn, I feel like no matter what I say right now, it's going to be wrong. I'm trying to have an honest conversation, and I keep stepping on landmines I didn't know existed. Leanne inhales, steady, controlled. And that's exactly the problem, Jenna. Leanne says, steady and unblinking. The fact that you see these issues as landmines means you already know. On some level, there's something wrong. You know the way the industry talks about certain comics is biased. But instead of acknowledging that, you act like I'm the one being oversensitive for pointing it out. Jenna shakes her head, frustrated. That's not fair. I'm sitting here trying to apologize, trying to move forward, and you keep dragging us back into conflict. What do you want me to say? Leanne leans in, her voice calm but razor sharp. I want you to actually hear me. Not wait for me to stop talking so you can move to the next cute question about my tour. These so-called compliments, these microaggressions, they add up. Every interview, every panel, every press stop. And I know you don't realize you're doing it. That's almost worse. Because it means the bias is so baked in. You think it's normal. A co-host tries to jump in, but Leanne lifts a hand without looking away from Jenna. No. Let me finish. I've stayed quiet about this for years because I didn't want to be labeled difficult or ungrateful. But I've earned my place in this business. I worked for it. I built it. And I'm done letting my work be minimized. If honesty makes me difficult, then so be it. The studio goes dead silent. Jenna exhales and looks Leanne directly in the eye. I don't think you're being difficult, she says quietly. I think you're being honest. And it's uncomfortable. Because I'm realizing I might have contributed to something I never intended to. Leanne nods once. That's the first real thing you've said since this derailed. And yes, uncomfortable is good. Discomfort forces you to look at things you've had the privilege to ignore. One of the quieter co-hosts finally speaks. Lynn, can I ask something? When a genuine question. When you talk about microaggressions, what should we be saying instead? Leanne takes a moment. Then, okay? For example, instead of calling my comedy wholesome, call it incisive. Instead of relatable, say universal. And don't ask whether I feel limited by my style. Ask what inspired me to develop such a distinctive voice. Do you hear the difference? Those words put me on equal footing with every other comic. Not in some cutesy sub-genre for people who don't want to be challenged. The co-host nods slowly. I do hear the difference. Thank you for explaining that. Leanne softens. Look, I know none of you woke up hoping to insult me. I know you love comedy. But there is a hierarchy. And comics like me get shoved into the comfort food lane. Nice? Sweet, not real cuisine. Jenna sighs. I get that analogy, I do. And I'm sorry you've had to deal with that. But I honestly just wanted to have a fun conversation about your special. There was no agenda. I believe you thought that. Leanne replies. But intention doesn't erase impact. You can mean something kindly and still cause harm. And the responsibility isn't on me to swallow it just to keep things light. Jenna glances toward the camera, then back. You're right. You are. And I'm sorry. Not sorry you misunderstood, but sorry I hurt you even without meaning to. Lon studies her face, then nods. Thank you. That matters. But understand, this isn't about one moment. It's about a career full of them, and I'm not smiling through it anymore. A co-host speaks gently, and you shouldn't have to. These conversations are hard, but they're necessary. Exactly, Leanne says. If we can't talk about it, nothing changes. The bias just keeps going, and people like me keep getting shoved into boxes we don't belong in. Jenna inhales, resets, and finally asks, So where do we go from here? Because I do want to talk about your special. I want to do it right. Leanne sits back. Then ask me about my process. Ask how I build material. Ask what makes a joke work. Ask me the same questions you'd ask Seinfeld or Gaffigan or any other observational comic. Don't treat me like a category. Jenna nods, finally grounded. Okay. Can you walk us through your writing process? How do you know when a story is ready for the stage? For the first time in minutes, Leanne smiles. A real one. Now that is a good question. So, I start by living my life and noticing the moments that make me laugh. Like, I was in the grocery store recently, and I watched a woman arguing with the self-checkout machine like it had personally betrayed her. And I thought, that's funny. People do that. So I wrote it in my phone. Then later I start building, who is this woman? What's going on in her day? Why is she so furious at a machine? What is she really yelling at? Leanne continues. Because that's where the joke lives, in the truth underneath the moment. That's where people see themselves. One of the co-hosts leans forward now, genuinely engaged. So you're not just retelling something funny. You're building a whole character and world around that single spark. Exactly, Leanne says, nodding. Because just saying woman yells at self-checkout isn't comedy. It's nothing. But if I let the audience smell the grocery store, if I make them picture that one cousin or neighbor, we all know if I show the little meltdown that comes from a life that's already stretched thin, then it hits. Then it connects. Then the laugh isn't just at her, it's at ourselves. Jenna jumps in, her tone calmer now. That's fascinating. So how long does it usually take you to turn a moment like that into a full bit? It depends, Leanne says. Some things fall into place in days. Others take months. Tweaking the rhythm, swapping punchlines, trimming the fat. Comedy is rewriting. People think comedians just stroll on stage and talk. No. Making something feel effortless takes a ridiculous amount of effort. A co-host nods. I don't think people realize that. They only see the final version. Right, Leanne agrees. And that's fine. That's the goal. But understanding the craft makes you respect it. When someone sees the work, they stop treating comedians like court jesters and start seeing us as storytellers. Jenna shifts gears. You mentioned earlier that you've been doing this for decades. How do you think your comedy has evolved over that time? Leanne smiles softly. I've grown into my voice. In the beginning I was guessing, trying to figure out what worked, what audiences wanted, what felt like me versus what felt like pandering. Now I know who I am on stage. I know which stories are mine to tell. And I know how to build a show that actually takes people somewhere. You have that confidence when you perform. Another host says, it feels like you're just talking to friends in your living room. That took years, Leanne replies. Years of bombing, years of doubt, years of being told I needed to be edgier or dirtier or more political to matter. But I stayed in my lane, and eventually, the audience who wanted my lane found me. And clearly they love you, Jenna says. Your tours sell out in minutes. They do, Leanne says, with gratitude but not arrogance. But here's what I want people to understand. My success doesn't come despite my style. It comes because of it. There has always been an underserved audience. People who want to laugh without feeling exhausted or slimed afterward. I serve them. Another co-host asks, do you think comedy is becoming more welcoming to different styles? It's trying, Leanne answers. We have more platforms now, which helps. Audiences can find us directly instead of waiting for gatekeepers to bless us. But gatekeepers still exist. And they still elevate some voices while dismissing others. And I think, she gestures lightly across the table, we saw a bit of that impulse here today. The silence that follows is not tense, just honest. Jenna absorbs that, then nods. Yeah, I think we did. And as uncomfortable as this has been, I'm glad we're talking about it. Discomfort is where growth happens, Leanne says. I know I came in hot. And yes, maybe I could have said it softer. But I've been soft for decades. It didn't move the needle. Sometimes you have to raise your voice to finally be heard. A co-host places a hand on her chest. I'm glad you did. I needed to hear this. A lot of people did. Leanne meets her eyes. Thank you for listening. Really listening. That matters. Jenna exhales steady. Can I ask something? Genuinely, not as a setup. Is there ever a place for the kind of questions I asked earlier? Is there a way to talk about a comedian's evolution without it sounding like criticism? Leanne thinks, then nods. Yes. Context matters. If you lead with respect, if I feel seen, then a question about evolution feels like curiosity instead of judgment. But when your first question implies I'm lacking, that sets a hierarchy. It says, you need to change to fit my standard, and that's the problem. Jenna nods slowly. So it's not the question, it's the framing. Exactly, Leanne says. And it's also the assumptions underneath it. Ask yourself, why did I assume she needed to evolve? Did she ever say she wanted to? Or did I project my definition of real comedy onto her? That's where the work is. Jenna is quiet for a beat, then admits. If I'm being fully honest, it was projection. My idea of what evolution looks like. Not yours. Leanne gives her a small, appreciative nod. And that's what I wanted. Honesty. Because once you see the assumption, you can question it. Challenge it. Replace it. A co-host, moved, breaks the silence. This might be the most real conversation we've ever had on this show. It's messy, but it feels meaningful. Leanne laughs. A real, unguarded laugh this time, and says, "Well, I'm glad my little, on-air meltdown turned into a teachable moment. But truly, thank you all for being willing to go there. A lot of hosts would shut me down or cut to commercial the second things got uncomfortable." Jenna exhales, half smiling. I thought about it. I'm not going to lie. But you're right. These conversations matter. And if I'm going to sit in this chair and ask questions, I also have to be willing to hear honest feedback about how I ask them. That takes courage, Leanne says. It's easy to get defensive and shut down. Staying in it, that's harder. So I respect you for that. One of the co-hosts jumps in, shifting the tone as the segment clock winds down. Before we run out of time, we have to mention your new special. It's available now on streaming, and people should absolutely check it out. Leanne grins. Yes, please do. It's called Life After 50. It's all about middle age, aging parents, grown kids, shifting identities, trying to figure out who you are when every role in your life starts changing. It's funny, it's heartfelt, and I promise, you will see yourself in it. Jenna adds, and if someone watching thinks, well, I'm not from Tennessee, I'm not over 50, maybe I won't relate. I'm assuming you'd say they should still give it a shot. Absolutely, Leanne says. Because that's the thing about good comedy. It's universal. Sure, I talk about being a Southern mom, but the feelings are relatable to everyone. Embarrassing family members, getting older, life not turning out exactly how you pictured it. We all live some version of that. The details change, but the emotions don't. That's beautifully said, another co-host replies. And I think that's why your comedy resonates. You're specific enough to feel real, but universal enough to hit everyone in the heart. Lon nods. That's always the goal. Walk that tightrope between authenticity and connection. When you stick the landing, that's magic. Jenna smiles, reflective now. Well, Leanna, this has been quite a conversation. I think people at home are going to have a lot to say about it. Leon chuckles. Oh, I'm sure my inbox will be colorful after this. But honestly, I'd rather tell the truth and deal with the fallout than sit here pretending everything is fine. If we can't have uncomfortable conversations, we'll never move forward. Pawan host places a hand over her heart. Agreed. And thank you for being brave enough to start it. Thank you for being brave enough to stay in it. Leanne replies. That matters more than you know. Jenna turns to the camera. So, everyone, go watch Life After 50. And Leanne, truly thank you for being here. This was not the interview I expected, but I think it was the interview we needed. Leanne rises, shaking hands with each host. Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening. Really listening. That's all anyone wants. As she exits the set, the hosts exchange looks. Thoughtful, unsettled, changed. The audience begins to applaud, but it isn't the light, automatic morning show applause. It's louder, longer. It feels like acknowledgement. Like everyone in the room knows they just witnessed something that meant something. And that's where we'll leave it. This interview went places no one saw coming. Whether you think Leanne was justified or think she overreacted, one thing is undeniable. It made for compelling television. The only question now is, will this moment actually spark change, or will it fade away by next week? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we've got more stories like this on the way. What moment from this interview stuck with you the most?